Breakaway Podcast with your hosts Nick and Junior and producer Vince, bringing you elite fantasy hockey information to help you win your fantasy leagues and win at life.
You know what? I was excited because I'm like, I'm going to come out with some full-out energy, and I was on mute because I went too early. That's what she said.
You went way too early.
Yeah, that was a little premature.
Yeah.
A little premature.
Just a little bit.
How we doing, boys?
It's been a great weekend. How about you, Nick?
Yes, it's been a great weekend, actually. It was a lot of fun yesterday.
It was a lot of fun.
Yes,
it was
little Amalia's birthday.
Yeah, it was stressful leading up to it, but it was fun.
Yeah. Being fatherhood during a full-time job plus a full-time podcast, it adds up. But
Plus
anything else you guys want to do?
Plus full-time jobs.
Yeah.
You know,
Full-time wives.
full-time wives. Yeah.
Unfortunately, they can't go part-time, huh?
Just kidding. We love you.
Sure we do.
No, we had a really good time actually. The weather was gorgeous. The pool was gorgeous. Food was great.
Yeah. The weather,
everybody
thank
had
God.
fun.
Thank God the weather pulled through because the whole week it was announcing thunder showers, rain, and we got a really beautiful day. So happy birthday, Amalia. All the best. Happy third birthday.
Bum, bum, bum. So what are we doing today, boys?
This is part 2 of the Pacific Division.
Part 2 of the Pacific Division.
Shall we go into it right away?
The so not interesting teams.
I think you're wrong there.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, I think Vancouver's a very interesting team.
Yeah, Vancouver, yeah, but...
And then we have a bunch of teams that you might get some late round value out of. These are the type of teams that you look for when you're looking for sleepers or you're looking for value picks late in your draft.
No blurry
pressure.
Again.
Players who are playing with no pressure.
Guys, it's not every every team has round 1 talent that you're going to be drafting. So most leagues have drafts that will go 10 rounds or whatever, and these are where you're going to start getting some of these guys.
Oh, Junior's putting his hand. Oh, blurry, not blurry. Very
wow.
blurry.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Junior was good.
Junior, your drink fell.
There we go. Not blurry again. Good job, Junior.
All right, here we go.
All right, so who wants to introduce...
Just wanted to show everybody my dad bod.
who wants to introduce the first team?
All right, so we will be speaking about the San Jose Sharks because we're doing this in alphabetical order.
Yes, unlike how Vince put it on the Excel sheet.
19 wins, 54 losses. Last year's power play ranking 21st in the league at 20.19%. Who's in, who's out? Tyler Toffoli is in. That should be interesting. Alex Wemberg, Barclay Goodrow, Ty Dellandrea. Who's out? Barabanov, Zadina, Hoffman, and Burrows. Shall we move on to the player tiers? I think this is going to be pretty quick.
I thought you were going to say, should we move on to the next team?
So
these stats get you the first overall pick in the draft. So
pretty much.
Go ahead.
Look, so just to refresh, we have 4 tiers. Tier 1 is 91 plus points. Tier 2 is 80 to 90 points. Tier 3 is 70 to 79 points. And Tier 4 is 60 to 69 points. Below 60, we don't find is very relevant in deep leagues, in standard leagues. So we don't really pay much attention to it. So without further ado, we will skip the first 3 tiers because they do not have anyone that we project to have 70 plus points unless you guys object later on when we start talking about players. So here we go. Michael Granlund. Will he hit the 60-point mark this year? We sure think so. Who wants to start?
Well, you hit it last year.
And
in 69 games, right?
Which honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that was the most shocking stat I saw on this team, is that he was almost a point per game player.
So Granlund was on pace for 71 points last year. He played the full season with San Jose, and he had a 9% shooting percentage, which is actually quite low. Only shot 134 shots. He's a player that I feel was provided an opportunity because of the fact that there's absolutely nobody else, and he had 71% of the power play time. So he is the for sure 70-point player. 60 points, 60 to 69 point player. I think it's a safe bet.
Yeah,
for a floor.
Yeah, and I feel it's going to be more assist oriented than goal oriented.
I should specify. So the year before that, he only put up 41 points. So is it safe? Well, the year before that, he was 64 points. I kind of feel like he provided the opportunity is still there, which I feel like they haven't done enough to push him down the lineup too far. So the opportunity will still be there, and that's why I'm saying it's about 60 points again.
He's going to get, even if Celebrini makes his team next year, Granlund's going to get the number one centerman role. They're not going to put Celebrini in a number one role. So Granlund will get the number one role in center, so he'll get his time. And he's actually going to play with probably better talented players this year because of the way San Jose, the signings they did and the way they built their team. So I feel 60 to 69. That's the in between with him.
Yeah, it was a bit of like an on and off, like a seesaw season for him in the sense. In the first quarter, he had 7 points in 15 games, and 22 points in 22 games in the second quarter. Third quarter, 7 points in 10 games, and then the fourth quarter, 22 and 24. So I mean, yeah, I agree. 60 to 69 is ceiling. Given the opportunity, but as those kids start developing, he'll have less and less space, I think.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll keep the Lund line together.
What was that? Zetterlund, Granlund, and
Eklund.
Who we will speak about next? William Eklund. We have him in that tier also, 60 to 69. What do you guys think about that one?
Well, in fairness, last year was his first full season, so we'll call it his rookie campaign. And he got 45 points, which we've said before. 45 points is pretty good for a rookie player. I know that there was a comment about us mentioning that Michkov might be around 40 to 45
not
points.
Not talking about Michkov enough.
Yeah.
Because we're a Habs fan.
But I even Michkov, I was saying the same thing, right? So 45 points to 50 points, Michkov I'm projecting for this year. Eklund got 45 last year. I'm expecting an uptick in this season. He's going to be playing again with good players, and good players. I wonder, like Celebrini is going to be on the top power play, right? I mean, we're all expecting that.
I think Toffoli is going to help him.
Toffoli's going to help.
We'll get to him, I'm sure. But I natural progression, unless he hits that sophomore wall, he should progress to 60 points. I think William Eklund is someone that we don't talk of enough. Not a lot of people talk about this kid. I don't know if it's because he's in California and the West Coast, but 45 points in your rookie season, like you said, that's pretty impressive.
If Connor Bedard isn't there, he gets noticed for the Calder in that year.
Yeah, he goes up with Faber for Rookie of the Year, but I can see him progressing to 60 points as a natural progression. Having maybe Toffoli and Wenberg and some guys insulate him a little bit, I can see a natural progression. Hopefully the minus 45 becomes like a minus 20 or something.
Well, I mean, San Jose was a horrible team. They were tanking on purpose,
and
right?
only 16 points on the power play, by the way.
Yeah, and one of the worst power plays in the league as well. So we're hoping that all improves with the additions that they've made this year.
Yeah, listen, it's Eklund. He's going to get his points. He's going to get his time. He's playing with no pressure. So, we're really doing that again, huh?
I'm going to write down every listen.
I can't wait. Can't wait. So, yeah, I think he can make it between the 60 to 69 this year.
Next player on the list.
Tyler Toffoli.
Oh, the old man traveler.
Between the Devils and the Jets last year, 79 games played, 33 goals, 22 assists for a total of 55 points in 79 games. Where do we see him going from here? The season prior with Calgary, he ended with 73 points in 82. So is this where he lives, 55 to 60, or do we suspect he gets 60 to 69 maybe on a team where he's the go-to guy to a certain extent?
No, I see him getting. Listen, he didn't go to San Jose to win a cup, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, his fiance or his wife is from California region, so he just wanted to go back. They probably offered him more money than they should to get him there, but I think he could be a good influence. Like when he was with Montreal, he was a very good influence with the younger players.
And I think that's what they saw, right?
Mm-hmm.
They saw that in Montreal, the young players loved him. He was a mentor to them. You're bringing in a player that's good around younger players. You have Celebrini. You have a very young team coming up. Eklund is very young still, obviously. Will Smith, Chernyshov. Like, these are all guys that are very, very young. So having a role model like Toffoli, and you know what? He's going to put up another 30 goals.
Yeah.
He's going to get the opportunity here. I do see that 60 to 69 points.
Like, if he's going to be a minus 75, the coaches don't care. San Jose is not there to they brought him in to be that good veteran leadership, to guide their young players to what it is to be in the NHL life. And at the end of the day, he's going to get power play one. He's going to get his minutes on the ice. So I feel 60 to 69 is a no-brainer for a player like Toffoli.
But if you look at his history, he's not even a 60-point player, right? He got 73 the year that he was playing with Calgary. The year before that, between Montreal and Calgary, he got 49. The year before that in Montreal, he got 44. And then LA, Vancouver, 44.
44
LA,
and 44 and 52.
Yeah, but
in 52 games.
The thing
played.
is,
okay. So, yeah, I mean...
all these teams...
But still, I mean, he had a very... He had a very...
He's not like a go-to 60-point guy.
No.
But all these teams, he was line 2, line 3 sometimes. In Montreal, sometimes he's playing on the third line, power play specialist. Here, he'll be line 1. And there's pressure over there where if you don't do your defensive duties with those teams, because they were all fighting for a playoff spot, you're going to get sent down.
Well, Toffoli's never been a defensive liability.
But yeah, he's not a defensive specialist either.
No, but he was a good two-way player. I don't think he's ever had the reputation as being a...
No, but he has a reputation.
He's always been a plus player, except like 1, 2, 3 years.
But I feel that his skating is his
weakness.
Yeah.
So
He's not the fastest skater, no.
Exactly. But I think he could live between the 66-9 with San Jose.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And those are the only players we have in the tiers.
Power play D-man? Anybody?
Yeah, I got question mark, and another question mark.
What about that young defenseman they just re-signed? Thurn?
Merkley? No.
No, Thurn?
Thrun.
Henry Thrun, maybe. Who's this Ty Emberson guy? Anyone want to talk about him? They went to get Jake Wallman. I don't see him being an offensive threat, really. Or maybe Shakir Mukhamadullin. He plays from the start.
If he plays Ross,
I don't see him, though, as a power play specialist necessarily.
They signed Luca Cagnoni to an entry-level contract, who's like an offensive genius in the juniors right now. He's like a coming out late. What do you call it? What's that expression? He's like a late bloomer, a late developer there, late bloomer. If he gets playing time with San Jose, I could see him leading the power play. But other than that, it's slim pickings.
Listen, I see Mario Ferraro who gets those points. And then you might, like Kellen Anderson at one point was on fire with Minnesota, then got traded and decided he didn't know how to play hockey anymore.
I don't think he's
not on the team anymore.
Oh, no?
No, I think you're looking at last year.
Did Sam Dickinson get a start already?
Ooh.
No.
No, I think they're gonna.
They can't rush this kid.
I think they're gonna be. We'll talk about the prospects.
Maybe they'll play 5 forwards.
Yeah.
On the power play.
Oh, Mario Ferraro is a very half decent option.
Yeah,
I guess.
I guess he's the
Henry
only
Thrun, maybe. I don't have much. Like Wallman, I owned Wallman last year because I was desperate for D when Hamilton got injured. But we're not talking about a power play specialist here, right?
No, we're not.
He put up some points, but nothing crazy.
So how about we go to the? Oh, let's go. Okay, before we go to the exciting part of this team, let's go to their goalie tandems. So we've got Mackenzie Blackwood, who last year's save percentage was .899, goals against 3.45, goal saves against
Above.
something
Expected.
He was 45th in the league, and his backup, who played for New Jersey, Vitek Vanasek, save percentage .890, goals against 3.18, GSAE 57th. Are these guys going to be anything or anywhere close to fantasy relevant?
I don't even think if you go 0G strategy that you could even draft any of these guys.
No.
Okay,
No,
we're
I
talking like look at the lineup in front of them. You can't.
No.
You just can't.
So
I think this might be one of the worst defensive pairings I've ever seen in the National Hockey League.
But the
It's
thing is, they're building their
bad.
team, right? This is a full-on rebuild. So I think they've concentrated on their forwards, which we're going to talk about. And I think now with the Sam Dickinson draft, I feel they're starting to start drafting their backhand and see what they can do. But okay. So let's go to top prospects.
Well, this is where they live.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is absolutely where they
This
live.
is where they last draft they had a very. I think they were one of our top. No, they got a good.
Very good draft,
Yeah,
absolutely.
San Jose, Minnesota,
San
and
Jose.
Calgary.
Yeah. Okay, so Thomas Bordelot, he's been there a few years in the club. Are we thinking he's cracking the team? People are saying this year is the year that he's going to crack the team.
I think he cracks the team this year,
Okay.
but I'm not expecting
Big things out of him. Huh?
anything 30 to 35 points. In the long run,
Not
maybe we're talking about somebody that's going to be a 60-point player.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think his peak is a 80-point player.
I feel there's
you know.
there's too many young players that are already ahead of him.
He's got to make his mark now. He's
Yeah.
one of the older ones, 22 years old. He played 27 games last year with the Sharks, 11 points. In the AHL, 35 games played, 25 points. I would have liked to see a point per game player in the AHL to have a bit more value in the NHL, but I think there's way too many players that now are ahead of him in the depth chart
Yeah.
for him to be very relevant, fantasy-wise anyway.
Will Smith, 2 years ago, top 5 draft pick. He's gonna crack the lineup this year.
Yes, he will. That's what you come here for. My expert analysis of yes, he will. So Will Smith will definitely crack the lineup. I believe that we're talking about projecting him closer to a 50-point player, 45 to 50-point player. Like he's an offense first player, right?
Yes.
I just don't know what kind of lineup they're not gonna put him with Will Smith and Celebrini in the same line.
No.
So
Maybe
you think so?
Well, maybe
if they want to build that chemistry.
Yeah, I think
That's a
more
lot of
yeah.
youth.
I think more on the power play. See, the thing is, that listeners have to understand that we're not saying these guys won't become huge players, but we've seen enough rookies come into the NHL, and they are very rare that they're gonna get exceed 50 points. And the ones
extremely rare.
And the ones that do are the special ones. Connor Bedard, McDavid when he came in, like those are the special ones. And like these players, as good as these players could be, they are not in that special category.
Well, I'm curious to know something actually because this is their depth chart at center: Celebrini, Couture, Granlund, Wenberg, Will Smith.
No,
Couture, we don't know what's going on. Even if he doesn't play, then is Will Smith your fourth line center?
no, they're gonna put Smith.
No,
on the
It's
wing.
not
because
worth it, right?
You're not putting a 19-year-old
no.
kid on the center spot.
He's going to play wing.
He's gonna play wing.
Celebrini is going to play center because his 200-foot game is already solid. But Will Smith, there's no way they put him center right now.
Yeah, I see Will Smith starting on the wing.
Yeah.
Daily faceoff has him with Granlund and Eklund. Sure, I mean that's great deployment for him if they do
Yeah.
it right.
Zetterlund, Celebrini to Foley.
It's gonna be a
That's
fun
nice
team
too.
to watch.
Listen, a team that plays with no pressure on them is always a fun team to watch, right? They'll take those risks. So, écoutez. Next, Quentin Musty.
Yeah, goal scoring forward is one of the best prospects as a shooter. I'm excited to see what he could do, but it's not going to probably be this year. I think maybe a cup of coffee this year.
Yeah, I think he's gonna play in their AHL affiliate this year, right?
He signed his entry level contract, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, he signed his entry level contract.
So he might get those 9 games before getting sent to the AHL.
Yeah, 102 points in 53 games with the Sudbury Wolves last year.
As an older player.
Wow.
Yeah. So he'll be okay, but I don't see him being relevant in the NHL now. If you're in a dynasty league, you keep this guy well stocked in your lineup, in your prospect.
A lot of the San Jose prospects you should really have an eye on, a watch list or own them already.
There's a lot of offensive firepower here.
Yeah,
Like in the prospect pipeline, right?
I
A
was-
lot of good ones.
I was very skeptical of Greer at the first, but going back now and taking a look at it, I think he's done a pretty good job so far.
This is the easy part.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
developing them, tough one. Next guy, listen, I don't think we have to say much about him. Macklin Celebrini, first overall draft pick. We all believe he's going to be playing with San Jose next year. Once again, we don't think he'll hit any of hit our tier 4 in his first year. I think.
I think it's between him and Michkov to
Calder,
maybe the Calder race is really starting with these two guys. Celebrini versus Michkov.
Yeah, I can see him hitting 50.
Whoever gets 50 points first.
That's it. I can see Celebrini hitting 50.
A lot has to break right.
50, 55 maybe.
He's got to get on one of those hot streaks.
I think he'll get
And stay healthy.
opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Sam Dickinson. I think he already said that he was going back to the London Knights. What, didn't he?
Yeah. He's not going to be playing this year. However, you all of a sudden got your 1D of the future.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a huge. That was a huge get for them.
Yeah.
And what about Igor Chernyshov, second round pick, I believe?
Who got out of his
terminated his contract in the KHL early to come over to North America.
Won't be playing in the NHL, but
AHL.
will be playing in the AHL, and he's not far off. Like
No, he'll get his.
this guy, I'm surprised this guy was a second rounder. To be honest,
He
I
was
had
number
him-
12th on my prospect ranking.
I think
for
I had him at
fantasy.
16. So yeah,
He's
awesome.
gonna get his cup of tea in the NHL this year. That's for sure. And lastly, Shakir Mukhahadulin.
No, Muka Madulin. Muka Madulin is a defenseman, huge
But
defenseman.
He's old. He's like Thomas Bordelot, right? He's in that
22 years old.
Yeah, 22 years old.
They
He was
got him via
drafted,
trade.
with New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Exactly. So he is 6'4" defenseman, and there's a lot of different opinions varying on how good this guy is going to be, because some are saying that he has some offense in his game. Others are saying that it's never going to translate to the NHL. So we'll see.
Look, last year, 55 games with San Jose Barracuda, which is their AHL affiliate, 34 points. That's not bad for a defenseman
Very
in
good.
the AHL.
Yeah, very good.
He hasn't even played 82 games total in the AHL. So, that looks good on a team that has no pressure. I think he could put up some points. I'm desperate for him to put up some points in Lama, that's for sure. So
I remember I traded him to your predecessor. I drafted him in Lama and traded him away.
So all in all, we can see that San Jose is on the up and rising and still in the middle of their rebuild.
It's going to be a fun team to watch.
Future watch.
If they keep on doing well during the rebuild, right? Right now,
I
they're
really
hitting
want to
the
see
spots.
how Celebrini and Eklund perform. I'm curious about how Bordelot performs this year. Will Smith. There's a lot of fun players to watch in San Jose this year, but you're not expecting them to do much in the
They're
league.
still going to be in that top 5 lottery draft.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next team up.
Oh, no. Final thoughts.
Sorry, Nick. Final thoughts. That's yours, my friend.
Well, they've had the 5th best offseason according to Dom's model. Dom Lucian, that is, from The Athletic. They added NHL players to surround Celebrini and give some veteran mentorship to some of these young players that are just coming into the NHL, like Eklund and Bordelot coming in. So they surrounded the team with players I could legitimately say that they're NHL players.
Yeah, it's going to be an up and down season for them, but I see more ups than downs this year for San Jose.
And again, more of the not actual victories,
Yeah.
but maybe
Moral
moral
victories?
victories. Right, very early in the rebuild still,
Yeah.
and they hit the home run with Celebrini first overall. So
Exactly. All right, so now we'll go to our second team.
That might be the fastest we've ever gone through a team. Let's talk some more about something else.
All right.
no.
Seattle Krakens.
All right,
Who wants to describe the Seattle Krakens?
the mid.
The Seattle second liners.
Man. So
All right. Are you going? You're going
yeah,
for it?
I'll go for it. It's not last year's standings: 24 wins, 35 losses.
We don't talk about overtime losses.
We
in
don't
this
talk
podcast.
about overtime losses; they're just useless. Last year's power play: 17th overall, 20.66%. Who's in and who's out? Well, they've added Chandler Stevenson and Brandon Montour, who's a big ad for them. Who's out? Yamamoto, Justin Schultz, and Dumoulin. Also in this team, we do not have any of them in the tier 1, 2, or 3. Like Nick and Junior were talking about, this is a fully second line to third line player team.
For now.
For now. Because they also have some young stars that could easily be in the first line if developed properly. So, tier 4, we have first player is Jared McCann. What can you tell us about Jared McCann?
Well, Jared McCann kind of came out of nowhere and surprised everybody 2022-2023 season where he hit 70 points in 79 games. He hit the 40-goal mark. But he also had a 19 shot percentage, which was the highest of his career. Last year, he kind of dropped down to where most expect him to be at this point. 80 games played, 29 goals, 33 assists, 62 points. So on pace for that 60 to 65 point range, exactly where we project him. I expect more of the same, to be honest. I don't see him 70 plus. I see him in the 60 to 69.
I couldn't agree more. He is a 30-30 guy in my books.
Yeah, that's
30 goals, 30
very
assists,
yeah.
60 points. Can he do a little bit better? Sure. I mean, between 60 and 65 points, like you said. His shooting percentage is down to 13%, which you also mentioned, from 19 back to his average, which is 13%. The guy, though, does take 210, 216 shots per year. So if your league counts shots, he's a shooter. He's a shooter first, shoot first mentality. Yeah. He was a little bit of a minus player, but I don't know if your league still count that. To me, McCann is a player. He's a player that's mid.
Listen, when I was looking at the Seattle Kraken team, I had a very hard time putting players in our tiers. Ooh, another one, number 4. Can't wait till I get to 5. Yeah, I was having a hard time putting players in these tiers. I think I even forced the other player in this tier because I don't believe he's a 60 to 69 player. But for Jared McCann, I think last year he had a quiet 29 goals. Like usually when someone is close to 30 goals, you hear about it more. I feel it's a very quiet 29 goals. So I listen, I see him hit the 60 to 69, but
I'll tell you what, for like a 30-goal scorer coming off a 40-goal score season, the fact that he only plays 16 minutes a game is a bit underwhelming. Like, if this is your guy, play him 18,
but this is
19 minutes.
This is what they're saying with the coaching change in Seattle. They're saying this is what's going to change. Is their top guys are going to get more minutes this year.
Then I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes closer to 69 than he does 60.
Who's his line mate?
Maybe Shane Wright, but right now it's I think
Matty Beniers.
Matty Beniers and Eberle maybe or
So Matty Beniers is a player that started his rookie season with 80 games played, 57 points. That's a 58-point pace. 24 goals, 33 assists. And then last year, he went up to play 77 games, so almost the same amount of games, but he pretty much half those points. Only 37 points. Not half exactly, but anyways. 37 points. Was that a sophomore slump? And are we expecting this to rebound back to the 60-point pace?
No, I think. I expect him to rebound? Yes. Do I expect it to rebound to 60 to 69 with the team he has right now? No. And I'm an owner of Matt Beniers.
Wow, yeah, that's odd.
Yeah,
It's rare that he has something bad to say about one of his own players.
it's not bad.
Let's go trade for him.
Yeah, no, but it's not something bad. It's just I don't feel he's surrounded by players that will make him go into those 70 to 80 point teams, the point seasons. Not right now, anyways. And like it or not, we're going to talk to him about the prospects. But I feel Shane Wright is the number one centerman. Matty Beniers is their number two centerman.
That's a hot take.
I do not think that it's vice versa. I think Shane Wright is the better player in this team. So that's I
Not as soon as this year.
No, not this year. But
You're saying
give
in
it
their prime.
in the future, when like Shane Wright will probably have a full season with Seattle this year, and it'll be his first season. I think in 2 years he'll be the number one centerman.
Well, okay. What do you think, Junior?
I like this kid, and I was like, let me go see how much time on ice he had, because I just assumed there wasn't much.
He's still unsigned. Still on
Right,
RFA.
he's an RFA actually. But he was playing close to 18 minutes a game. That's even more than McCann. Maybe as a center, you get that little boost in minutes. Hopefully, it's just a sophomore slump. I like this kid coming out of the University of Michigan. I expect him to push 60 points next year, but maybe not quite hit it. I'm curious to see what this new coach does, though. Do we know who the new coach is?
Yes.
Oh, yes, Dan Bylsma. Dan Bylsma's new coach, yeah. I'm curious to see what he does with this team.
Well, we said it, I think, when the news came out about Dan Bylsma, is that he had one very good season as a coach, I believe.
Which we could have
With
had.
Crosby,
Which
Malkin, Letang.
which we could have had if we were there.
I don't really see any Crosbys here.
No.
I don't really see a Letang here. So it's going to be tough. We'll see. Look, I'm always down for a coach to get a second chance, maybe even a third chance here, and see what he could do. So I'm curious more than anything to see how Seattle performs moving forward. Who else do we have in that 60 to 69 point range?
Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Guys, it's the only guy I could have found. There literally was nobody else.
I'm not like he hit 59 and 82 last year.
And that's the only reason I said he might hit 60, because their power play just might be a little better.
He's never quite hit 60 before. He was probably on pace for 60 in 2020, 2021.
I feel like this team is built with a bunch of paper cuts. They'll kill you, and if they win, it's because they just cut you a little bit. First line, second line, third line. It's just a little bit of damage each time.
It's one of those teams that they'll have two guys on a career year and they'll make the playoffs.
No.
And then they're like, you know what I mean? But like if they don't have those guys have career years, they're just an average team.
I think this is a team that first year they came in and made that nice playoff run was because they came in unexpected, the hype of a new franchise, new arena and stuff like that. But after a year, teams caught on. Teams, once you have film on the team, teams catch on to all your mistakes. Teams catch on to your weaknesses. Listen, this team, you can't tell me any of these players would be first-line centermen on any other team or first-line players on any other teams.
Yeah, well, Beniers, I mean, let's be fair here.
But
The kid is
Beniers-
very young.
I'm excluding their young players,
Right.
right? So, and if you're depending on the Beniers, like, he's still not there. So they're basically all second-line players trying to play over their asking. So I don't feel any of these players will be fantasy relative unless.
Well, Jared McCann could be fantasy relevant.
Yeah, but at the end of the rounds, if you're throwing darts.
No, I think
McCann
it's
has
a pretty
been-
safe 60
yeah.
point bet.
I think McCann has shown that he's decent
But
as a bet.
I'd
I
like
would
to
agree with that.
skip the goalie tandem and jump to the power play D-man, because I do think Dunn could hit the 60 point mark. And I do think, and we discussed it, I'm not remember which episode, but Vince, you were kind of on board saying Montour is going to take over. He's going to be the lead dog. But after reviewing some stats, back-to-back 60-point pace seasons for Vince Dunn. And over 58% of the power plays last year. The year before with Seattle, over 56% of the power play he was on. I'm not sure Montour easily comes in and just takes that away from him.
Or he's not going to take it away from him, but he's not going to have 56% of the time on the power play. Who was behind Dunn that could take his place last year?
Nah, probably not much.
So this year, not only does he have competition,
Adam Larson, maybe.
but even him.
No, Larson is more of
Justin
a defensive
Schultz,
D.
maybe. Justin
Schultz was
Justin
pretty
Schultz.
much it,
But
yeah.
they removed Justin Schultz. They brought in Montour. So Dunn, I'm not saying he's on a short leash, but those power plays where they pushed him for a minute and 45 seconds out of the 2 minutes, now it's going to decrease to, a minute, they clear the puck. Okay, get off the ice. Montour, get on the ice.
So we said already that San Jose doesn't have any number one defenseman, junior.
No, they do not.
Does Seattle have any number one
No,
defenseman?
they do not.
Because they brought in somebody like Brandon Montour, and they're paying him pretty much number one pairing numbers. Or
Yeah.
He
right?
could be a number one. He could be a number one pairing defenseman. Doesn't mean he's a number one defenseman.
So you don't believe in Montour being the savior of this team on D, right?
I personally, I do not. I mean, let him surprise me and the rest of the fan base of the Seattle Kraken.
You're
But-
about
I was
to
gonna
say
say
Seahawks, eh?
yeah. But no, I don't see. In fact, I'm kind of afraid. I still think Dunn will get his points and probably hit 60, but I don't know. It's not.
It's not set in stone.
It's not a gimme. Yeah, Montour might take some away from him, and Montour might still not produce enough to validate him in fantasy. So,
Well, they have three offensive defensemen in my books. They have Vince Dunn, who last year put up 46 points. 46 points. My mistake. Only playing 59 games, though, because of injury. And I'm looking at his kind of history here. He's been average around 70 games played. So last year was really, he missed significant time. He was on a 64-point pace. So that puts him in his 60 to 69 range, which we should have him at for Tier 4.
Mm-hmm.
And he played 58% of the power plays, like you said. Montour might come in and take some of that. I don't know, but I feel like Dunn is the player that has done it before on that team. And as long as he stays healthy, which he should, I mean, historically he's stayed healthy, he's not a bad power play defenseman.
No, I never said he was a bad power play defenseman. I'm just saying the money you're paying Montour, you're not going to pay him to play 30 seconds on the power play.
No, he's definitely playing power play time.
Power play time.
What about Riker Evans?
No, I think
Not
he's
yet?
young. He might be the future, but I don't think he's going to get a sniff on that power play.
Dunn
Unless
gets
of
paid
injury.
more than Montour.
Yeah, but how much longer is Dunn on the books?
3 years. 3 years at
3 more years.
7.35.
How long is Montour on the books?
Too long.
Yeah.
Okay, so Riker Evans is gonna. When is he gonna get power play time?
Yeah, well,
In 5 years?
Listen, I think this could be a bit of trade bait too, right? So we're going to have to wait and see. But like Montour right now, if you go on daily faceoff, Montour is on the first power play. Now I know
Daily face-off is
yes,
guessing, right?
Exactly. This is all we're guessing.
We're guessing
Also,
as well,
but
yeah.
I feel like I was saying, Dunn doesn't have as much of a leash as he had last year. As soon as they see that something's not working, Montour is taking over. So
Yeah, and they did play 2 power plays last year as well. Guys, what do we think Shane Wright is gonna hit?
you're just talking about the prospects like right away.
No. I want to go back because we had the phase 4, which was 60 to 69 points. Do we think if Shane Wright,
No, even if you play,
because you mentioned that he's a potential number 1 instead of Beniers
I think.
eventually.
Listen, I think he's gonna get more points than Beniers this year.
Oh.
If he gets the quality time on the power play, he's gonna get. Who's their number 2 centerman right now, Nick? Like, let's look at their lineups here.
Is it
Chandler-
McCann? It's
Chandler
like-
Stevenson.
John McCann.
Chandler Stevenson, who was one of the guys that they brought in
Oh.
and paid him pretty big money.
Yeah, but even though, so Chandler Stevenson stays on this as their second line centerman, you tell me Wright can go to Burakovsky's position on the wing?
I'm
So many players that are around the same range, right? Even Yanni Gourde. Like, Yanni Gourde is a great third line center.
Yeah, but
not fantasy relevant.
no, but he's going to stay as a third line center. See, I feel on this team, the one guy that can push up is going to be Shane Wright.
But they're paying
Or-
Stevenson
or,
a lot of money to be a player. I'm expecting him to be their second line center.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tolvanen gets a little bit of a boost.
I don't
But,
know. Tolvanen, I think his ship has sailed.
I'm curious to see if we put a poll out, what people think, Beniers or Shane Wright to get more points.
You can't say when he's saying it. It's when
No,
I
you
say
said,
it.
you said, listen.
I
Listen,
think-
I think Tolvanen's ship has sailed.
I think it'll be pretty close, Benier versus Wright. Who's gonna get more points next season?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
I think.
Let's put a board bet.
I think.
Board bet. I was gonna put out a poll. This guy wants to do a board bet.
Okay, but who's-
Okay, let's
put
do a
up
board bet.
poll.
Who's
I want to
keeping
make things
track?
interesting.
Who's keeping track
Guys,
of our
Seattle,
board bets?
We
unfortunately.
wrote them all down.
Okay.
Eventually, we'll
Okay, but
before the season we'll post.
We're
We
not
need
gonna-
a chalkboard
Yeah,
back
exactly.
here.
We're not gonna spend much time on their goalie tandem, but they have the cord, whose save
I think we need
percentage,
to spend time here.
whose save percentage was .916, goals against average 2.46, GSAE sixth in the league, and then we had Grubauer, who at first, when he first came in, thought he was gonna be their goalie, save percentage .899, goals against 2.85, GSAE 56th in the league. Can the cord perform like he did last year?
It's risky.
But that's why we're talking about it,
Sorry.
because he was a league winner last year.
He was a league winner last year. And listener Dan went out and grabbed him from free agency. And it helped him propel him to a victory. Not the only reason he won. Obviously, he had a lot of things breaking right for him. But can the cord repeat? That's going to be the big question here.
But he beat out two goalies that they thought were going to be. Because remember, when Seattle signed, they also signed Drieger from Florida, who was starting basically their games because Bobrovsky was hurt. So he came out of nowhere at the court last year to beat out both those guys.
4 consecutive years in the AHL without a sniff of the NHL. I think. No, that's not true.
No, he was the backup goalie somewhere.
Well, he had never played more than 8 games in the NHL in a season.
It was his rookie season, the cord. It was
Wow.
considered his rookie season. How old is he?
27.
I don't know, man. I don't think he can perform like he did last year.
Like, if he's the number one goalie again, there's a chance that he repeats, but I feel like there's a lot of risk there.
Yeah.
So he might be one of those guys that 0G strategy might work. Maybe waiver wire pickup might
Yeah.
work, but I'm not putting all my eggs in the cord basket.
No, especially that Seattle hasn't done anything to like drastically improve their team.
Yeah, new coach. There's way too much going on in Seattle.
Too many unknowns.
I'd stay away. Even in a 0G strategy, I'd stay away.
More of a waiver wire guy for you.
Yeah.
And do we think Drieger or Grubauer, do they have any fantasy relevance anymore?
I believe Drieger went back to Florida. I don't think he's with Seattle
Oh,
anymore.
sorry.
But Grubauer, no. I mean, not with this team. Even if you go 0G, is this one of the goalies you're picking up?
Man, the court has a $1.7 million salary.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And with the points he gave up last year, he was in a dynasty league. He was a nice pickup.
All right. I think we should wrap it up with the prospects. And call it a day for this team.
Prospects. We already spoke to him, Shane Wright, which we will have either a poll or a board bet to see. But we can say he's the brightest prospect that they have.
Well, I think the
right
whole discussion or narrative out there of Shane Wright being a bust
now is
just because he didn't start in the NHL the first year.
Yeah.
I think that was a little bit premature.
Let me see.
Did I say he was a bust?
No, I said you were premature earlier in the episode.
Well,
So I feel like let's see what he has, because he had a great AHL season.
47 points in 59 games.
It's a great AHL season.
yeah, I think
13 points in 12 playoff games.
What is he? 20 years old?
20 years old. listen, he was ranked to go number 1, so this kid's got talent. He's going to be very, very good.
We didn't put arguably who I think is their best prospect over here.
You don't think Shane Wright's the best prospect?
No, I think Berkeley Catton's a point per game player in the NHL in the future.
Oh, yes. He got drafted this year, right? Berkeley?
Yeah. I think Berkeley Catton, they got some firepower. Berkeley Catton, Shane Wright, Jagger Furcus, who's coming along quite nicely. Edward Sale, it's a bit of an attitude thing, but Ty Cartier got some playing time last year. Did pretty well, no?
We already spoke about Riker Evans. We'll see what kind of opportunity he actually
not
gets.
Not the deepest prospect pool, but I think with Shane Wright and Berkeley Catton alone, you're already steps ahead on offense.
They were 17th ranked on the power play last year. That's better than teams like Pittsburgh, who have Crosby, Malkin, Letang.
Yeah.
That's better than teams that we just spoke about, like San Jose, obviously.
And they added 2 power plays.
And they added Montour, and they added Stevenson, who maybe isn't necessarily the guy that you want to say is a second-line center on your team, but he's performed in the past.
Listen, he was a first-line center with Vegas before Eichel got there, so...
So I mean, they've added
Yeah.
this offseason. And Jagger Furcus is a fun guy to cheer for, 5'7", I think.
Yeah.
Riker Evans, somebody to cheer for. Hopefully something happens. But,
Edward Sale.
Edward
Last
Sale
year.
has a
He
lot
has
of
the
talent.
skill,
He has the
but,
skill.
So it's going to be an interesting team to look at.
What did they finish? They had the seventh best offseason according to Dom's model.
Yeah.
And those 2 additions are the big reason why. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the additions they made are like such Seattle additions. You know, Stevenson, Montour, not quite the top line or top defensive pairing guy, but could and need. Like, if you really need, they could play a little bit. Like, they just fits that second line aura they have.
I just feel like you don't give a lot of credit to Montour.
I don't know.
He's going to... but I agree. Montour is going to have to prove to me that he wasn't getting those points because he was playing with Kachuk,
That's it.
Barkov, and all those players.
I'm not saying he's a 70-point defenseman.
No.
Because he did hit 70 points
yes.
defense. I'm not saying that. But even as a 50, 55-point defenseman, that's still very valuable.
50,
No,
yes.
but I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying it's second tier type of thing, you know, like, but what I do like is they have guys like Shane Wright and Berkeley Catton that eventually will come along and take over that point production that's lacking in their offense. Maybe Beniers too, if he develops to that point.
Yeah. Might take a little bit more time, but we'll see what happens.
Team number 3, Junior. I think you should introduce this team.
All right.
Good old Canadian team.
From British Columbia, Canada, the Vancouver Canucks. Last year, a 50-win and 23-loss season because we don't count
Overtime losses.
last year's power play ranking 12th in the league at 22.57%. Who's in? Jake DeBrusk, which I love. Daniel Sprong, sneaky addition. And Pius Suter. Who's
Pew.
Pew.
Pew suit.
Pew. Who's out? Elias Lindholm, Mikheyev, Ian Cole, and Zadorov. So they kind of lost a few pieces, nonetheless.
Who wants to walk with Elias?
I feel like our tiers are going to be pretty full with this team. Anyhow, so player tiers, 91 plus points.
But a team that's still looking for a number 1 defenseman.
Well, they might not be waiting much longer.
Let's just
So,
continue.
okay, well, this guy likes to get me going early. Oh, wow. First of
Vancouver
all,
fans, pay attention because this is exactly where you go to
yeah,
start
so,
yelling
yeah.
profanities.
Well, you know, like maybe pay attention to the words that I'm saying before you start launching profanity like a bunch of
words that are
bozos.
coming out of my mouth.
But yeah, let's just give a guy the best defenseman in the league because he did it for 1 year. Anyways.
If you ain't first, you're last.
All right, so 91, the first tier, 91 plus points. I personally think we have 2, but let's start with JT Miller. JT Miller, 1 second here because my
JT Miller is one of those players that absolutely
Under the radar.
underrated. Ooh.
he's still underrated. He is
Under the
still
radar guy.
underrated.
Yeah.
I was looking at his stats and I'm like, since when? And it's just consistency, especially his last 3 years. 99 points in 21-22, 82 points in 22-23, 103 points in 23-24, 72 points in 19-20 with 69 games. I mean, he just does it all. I can see him hit over 91 points guaranteed this year, and he hasn't lost any of his classmates. So there's no reason he shouldn't excel.
What a steal of a player! Like, I don't know. He started really coming out in Vancouver because before that he was in Tampa Bay.
Well, Rangers first, then Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Before Vancouver, it was Tampa Bay, and before that, it was the Rangers. And he never hit 60 points with any of those teams. And all of a sudden, he goes to Vancouver 2019, 2020, and he just starts putting up points.
Opportunity, my friend. He got his opportunity, and he took it.
Well, in New York, he had minutes in New York. He had
Yeah.
top 6 minutes in New York, and he never really did it. But what's amazing is that he just keeps going. Like, he gets better with age. He's like fine wine. I traded him last year thinking I was selling him at a high, and he ended up putting 103 points.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I got Huberto for that trade.
Ouch.
So, look, he had a little bit of a 19% shooting percentage this year. A little high. Yeah. But this is a player that if you're in a hits league, he puts up 200 hits plus. He shoots almost 200 plus. He wins faceoffs. He plays power play. He gets points on the power play. He blocks. Like, he's one of the best, and in my opinion, I would say maybe even a top 10 player out of all positions in the NHL right now.
He's a top 10 player. I said it already. Until he starts. Listen, he's 31 years old. I still think he's
got some runway left.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like I said, he didn't lose any of his classmates, so I think he could easily hit it again.
Yeah, and he does it all, eh? Shorthanded too. His giveaway takeaway ratio is not too bad either. 9 game winning goals, that's clutch. 40 power play points. 40 power play points last season. That is wild. Amongst the most underrated players in the league, and I think we're going to get to another one on the next team as well. Shall we move on? So that's the only player we have a consensus here at 91 plus points. So let's go to tier 2, 80 to 90 points. Let's start with the Quinn Hughes.
Wow.
Let's start with Quinn Hughes, 80 to 90 points. I do think he'll hit a point per game, essentially making him a number 1 defenseman in my standards, which is very high. So, Vancouver, you should be flattered that I think that. So, yeah. Sorry about that.
Look, Quinn Hughes is only 24 years old.
Yeah, exactly. 92 points last year in 82 games. 76 points the year before in 78 games. Not quite a point per game, but just shy. Whatever, you round up.
Look, so 2 years in a row,
let me,
he puts up the points.
Yes, but I do have one concern, and I think you guys can see it too. It's clear. Do I think he can score another 17 goals next year? That's the only thing that I question, which is why I think he's not going to hit 90, but probably closer to 80, 82.
His shooting.
So that would be 3 years in a row, his points per game, pretty much.
Making him a...
Oh, so your thing is 3 years in a row,
almost,
not 2 years in a row.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
I like putting you in those positions.
Yeah, but
you're turning a little red.
Yeah, because yes. Anyways, yes. Let's just say yes. Okay.
But last year, his shooting percentage last year skyrocketed to 8.5. The year before it was 4.5, 5.3. So I agree with you. I don't think we see those 17 goals again this year.
He hasn't even entered his prime.
But he never hit 10. So he went from like 7, 8 to 17. Yeah. That's the only thing. Look, eventually, is that who he's going to be? Maybe.
I remember Vancouver had a very hot beginning of the first half of the season. Then second half kind of started falling.
I just want to say one thing. From his second season,
Mm-hmm.
which was actually his first full season, so for pretty much forever, he's been over 22 minutes a game.
Yeah, but you have
That's
to.
legit. That's why like a player like him,
You have to.
it
He
wouldn't have
plays
to
all
be
the time.
3 years.
But Nick, they have no other option. And with his talent and his youth, this is when you play your players, your good players, that much time. Like he doesn't hurt you on the ice. That's
Well,
for sure.
I think he puts up the number one defenseman minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely puts up the number one defenseman points.
Look, we live in a different era as well, right? Where one-dimensional, and I don't mean, when I say one-dimensional, I don't mean he's not good defensively. I just mean his primary objective is to produce points. Whereas up to maybe even 5-6 years ago, those guys weren't considered necessarily go-to guys on a team.
Mm.
Now they've become a standard, something that teams want to build around, as opposed to a complementary piece. And it goes back to your point last week. You were saying the Hedman points. I went back to check the stats. There was barely any point per game players during his prime.
No.
And he was a 60-point guy at the time.
It was a
50
completely
point
different game, right?
That's right. It's evolved tremendously.
And even like we can listen, Philip Hornick, I love him and all. I had him in a few pools. Some years with Detroit, he made me win the pools because of the points. But he's not worth $7 million or whatever contract they give him. They give him that contract because him and Quint Hughes made such a very good pairing that they needed to protect Quint Hughes.
Well, yeah, I think one of our listeners said it too. When that pairing came together, all of a sudden the numbers started taking off.
Exactly.
So that's a very good pairing, and if you find something like that, $7 million is not a lot of money.
No. But
It's not for defensemen nowadays that you're going to be playing
Well,
in your top four,
did you think
top pair especially.
Montour, was it too much money?
$7 million with a cap going up.
Because
Maybe
he puts
not
up the
so
same
much.
points. He put up 48 points last year.
Yeah,
At $7 million, it's
but that's why I was saying that. I think Montour is close to a top pairing guy, right?
But there's a trend with Roenick, and this is what got him paid. In the first half of the season, he had 36 points. Second half, he had 12.
okay.
The season before, 30 points in the first half, 9 in the second half.
So you're saying he's like a Mr. October type thing?
Brian
He's like-
Savage,
Remember-
baby. Bring back Brian Savage.
Yeah, Brian Savage.
I mean, and luckily Vancouver didn't suffer too much, but they did drop in the standings a little bit. They
But
were like
This is my
lose their
worry
lead.
with all the players on this team. My worry is what happened last year, which was they flew out of the gate and no one could have touched them out of the gate. But then teams started to adapt. People started understanding what they were doing, and they suffered and they suffered. And we saw it in the playoffs. Teams, it caught up to them. They were trying to throw out the same routine that they were doing, and teams were catching up to them. So is that on the players or is that on the coaching? So that's the balance they have to find. Like I feel Vancouver last year's season was a Jekyll and Hyde season because I think they came out on fire, where Stanley Cup contenders, but then the back end of the season was a little slower, and the main person who was getting blamed for this is the next player we're going to talk about, which is Elias Pettersson.
who we have ranked in the second tier,
Mm-hmm.
which is 80 to 90 points.
Same as Quinn Hughes.
Same as Quinn Hughes. So last year, he had in 82 games,
So-
89 points.
I'm guessing this is the player you think is going to get 91 plus points, Junior?
Yeah, because last year he came close. He came up 89 points last year in 82 games. The season before he hit 102,
Mm-hmm.
and the season before that 68. So he had an off year there, but I mean he's trending in the right direction. His numbers, his shot totals dropped last year.
Do you own him?
I do own him. Yes, I do own him. I got him in a trade when I sold Huberdeau high instead of paying to get rid of him. I sold him high, and I got Pedersen in return in that deal. No, I do think he could hit. I don't think he's going to be a 100-point guy necessarily, but I do think he could hit the 90-point mark. It's tight though, but maybe there's a bit of bias in there.
I hope he had a good offseason to get his head straight, because it was not fun to be him last year at the end of the year. Because anything that was going wrong, either playoffs or that, he was the first name that was coming out all the time with that big contract that's coming into play. Or did it already come into play last year? This year's the first year, right? Drew,
I think 11? He jumps to 11 this year. Yeah.
So this is the year where hopefully he had a very good offseason, cleared his head, because he's a phenomenal player. He just needs to play.
Actually, we own him, by the way, which is news we'll mention at the end of the podcast.
80 plus points, over a point per game the last 2 seasons. Hitting his 25. He's 25 years old, right? He's gonna at the start of the season, November, he's gonna turn 26. So he's in his prime. He's entering his prime. His deal is already set in the books. I think that was weighing on him a bit last year. I see him as a 91-point player.
I sure hope so. I think Vancouver hopes so.
He's one player who can move up a tier. Yes.
He's fringe. He's fringe.
But his head has to be screwed on straight.
And look, like we say, like he dropped. It's because he came out of the gate like flying, 30 points in 23 games.
I'm telling you, that contract negotiation, I think, messed with his head.
He was almost a point per game, though, in the second half, guys. He was just under a point per game.
Yeah.
It's just because he came out flying so much into the first quarter of the season, the first half of the season.
People were over-expecting.
Then they expected it to carry. But the season before, he had a steady pace every quarter of between 24 and 27 points. If he can do that, then he can be the 91 plus point player. But definitely exciting times in Vancouver.
Well, this is their. We talk about windows. These are their windows for the next few years, right?
Yeah.
Because JT Miller is 31, so you got 3 more seasons with JT putting up those points.
Yeah, you're hoping somebody is going to start coming up and replace.
And but we don't know what's going to happen with this next player.
Hard to replace that talent.
What happens with pending UFA Brock Besser, who we have in Tier 3?
Ooh, he's not signed with Vancouver.
I'm pretty sure
I'm pretty sure he's signed.
I'm pretty sure you should have done that research before.
No, I'm confident he didn't sign his extension, guys. He's pending UFAs. That's last season at 6.65.
Okay, he has one more season.
Okay, he has one more season.
He's pending UFA. It's a contract year for him.
I wouldn't have put a UFA on the team.
No, sorry, but pending UFA because I'm assuming the season started. Right?
No, he's not staying. He's not staying with Vancouver.
70 to 79 point Tier 3. That's where we have him ranked. You guys all agree?
If he scores. No, but he's a goal scorer. He's not a.
What, does he put up another 40 burger?
Listen, he has the talent. He has the talent around him to put it, and he has the talent to do it. Listen, this power play is lethal. JT Miller, Quinn Hughes.
Could be better. Only 12th.
Yeah, but it's this.
No, I see what you're saying.
And you're adding the next player that we're gonna talk about. Yeah, I completely see him hitting the 70 to 79. And I also completely see him not signing with Vancouver because he's going to go for the money bag and they have no money left.
They have some cap issues.
Yeah, there's no way they sign him. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't trade him to get assets because they know they're going to lose him, or keep him to make a playoff run. But I don't see him resigning. And people who think that he's going to take $7 million, he ain't taking $7 million.
No way.
He's into the 8.5 to 9 million.
By the way,
that's what his asking price is going to be.
They're still paying Ekman Larson, who's on like his third team since being bought out by Vancouver.
Ekman Larson is getting paid by 2 teams. By them and by Florida.
And now by Toronto.
Yeah.
No, wait. Florida bought him out?
I think so, no?
Nick is like, what? Do your homework. No, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they bought him out. They signed him 1-year deal, no?
There's another team that bought out Ekman Larson.
Arizona had bought him out. Could it be at the time? And then
Yes, Arizona. Well, who did he go? He went from Arizona to Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
So Arizona had bought him out. Vancouver bought him out. And then he went to Florida. So yes, it's Arizona and Vancouver. I'm just not sure if Utah.
Okay, so let's go back to Brock Besser. He scored 40 goals this year,
what are you
right?
talking about?
Squirrel.
We're on like fire over here.
74 point pace, but 73 points he had, almost a point per game, 0.9 points per game. He had a 19% shooting percentage, which is higher than his career average. So I'm not expecting 40 goals necessarily again, but it was his first time in shooting over 200 shots in like 6 years.
Utah is paying Ekman Larson for another 5 years.
The issue here is that there was a lot of stuff that happened off ice for Bezer, and we were kind of hoping that he's getting over all that and starting to produce again. And it's always very difficult in those situations to concentrate on other things, right? So in this particular case, he has the talent. He's shown that he has the talent. 40 goals in the NHL is not something to laugh at. So to me, I'm not necessarily expecting an uptick, but if he could repeat what he did this year, I think it's very fantasy relevant, very important. It's just too bad that they were paying him all this money for so long and he only did it this year.
Yeah, look, I see him more as a 60 to 69 point guy. But on a contract year, on that power play, on this team,
He will not be replaced on that power play, by the way.
Give me the puck.
Yeah, I see him hitting 70 if he stays healthy and his mind is right, and his, I expect
Contract year, like you said, right? This is a big bet.
And
this is where he
goal
could show.
scorers just have a knack of having career years on contract years, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's his first full off season since his dad was sick, and then what happened, he passed away, right? And then maybe this is his first full off season without that in the back of his conscience. So we'll see how that plays out for him. I'm excited to see where this goes actually. But we have him so far ranked from 70 to 79 points. I think that's partially because of the contract year. Let's move on to our player in Tier 4. 60 to 69 points. Newly acquired. Newly signed as a UFA. Jake DeBrusk. Heading west after spending his career up to date in Massachusetts with the Boston Bruins.
I think this is a phenomenal move for Jake to recharge his career.
Which he asked for a trade twice during his stay with Boston.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with his point production, but
And he wasn't playing with any slouches with Boston, right? He was still playing with their top players at Boston.
Top 6.
So I think he has to put some of that on him, and he has to improve and make sure he blends quickly with some of these players.
Well, I mean, he's only hit 60 points once in his career.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see him in Vancouver hitting that 60 points again.
he wanted to go closer to home. He's there. He's born in Edmonton, Alberta. He's not far. Being in British Columbia. Look, asking for a trade twice out of a team that was always in contention to make the playoffs or possibly win the Stanley Cup. I mean, that weighs on you. Why did he want to leave? Was it opportunity? Who knows? But the fact that he wanted to leave twice, which during his whole stay, they've been cup contenders or playoff contenders, I feel like he has a whole weight lifted off his shoulders heading to Vancouver. I personally expect big things from him this year.
I don't think he gets power play one time, though.
It could change, but to start, I don't think. But I think if he's on a line with Pettersson, I think that'll help. I think Pettersson needs that constant left winger that could put up points because he's been juggling with Hoglander and I can't even tell you who the other one, Mikheyev or whoever was
better
there.
than any player they put with Pettersson last year.
They had Lindholm for a short stint there when
Yeah.
they picked him up at the deadline. But I think we placed them well here in the 60 to 69 points. Maybe closer to 60 than 69, but I think he's well placed. All right, power play D-men. Quinn Hughes for sure, right? In the event Quinn Hughes is not there, maybe they put Roenick, but I think Pedersen is probably the quarterback. If Hughes is not there for injury purposes.
Why is Pedersen written there?
Because the defenseman Pedersen, he got power play time on the face-off. He's on the second power play.
Hold on a second. This is not...
this is not the forward, Elias Pedersen, the other guy. It's the defenseman.
I didn't even know he played a game in the National
I
Hockey
don't even think he's ever played a game.
Guys. Dun, dun, dun.
I know who you're talking about.
Vince did his homework, so... here, he played with the Abbotsford Canucks 8 games last year.
Yeah, never played an NHL game.
No. I never said he did. That's why I put all 3 names.
Oh, I thought you said last year he played on the power play.
No.
Power play 2.
Yeah, this guy's not touching power play time. He's nowhere near ready.
I don't even know if he's
never gonna
good enough to be
he's not gonna be in the NHL next
top
year.
power play guy.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What do you know that we don't know?
No, he just went on daily face-off, and they probably had him written
And they
somewhere.
had him there, yeah. See? No, not there. That's the forward. But they had him there. But I guess they took him out now. So, hey.
Anyways, it was cute, though. I think you own him, right?
Oh, that's what it is.
I don't know.
Elias
No?
Pedersen, I think you own him in Project Llama. I traded him to you.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay. The one guy I'm going to release.
No, he's not a power play one guy right now.
So, Hornick is the only other guy they have.
It's
Yeah.
Hronik and Quinn Hughes for sure, and I think Quinn Hughes would even stay on there for the full 2 minutes if it was.
Quinn Hughes will pull a McCarr and Fox where he plays a minute 45 seconds on that power play.
Yeah, they have nobody else that could actually put up points. Forbot, I'm not really excited about. Susie, Tyler Myers, Vincent Desharnais.
The one thing I wish they would have done.
They're not point producer players, right? They're good defensemen.
I'm a little worried
decent.
about their defensemen. I'm not going to lie.
I wish they would have improved their depth at D. Like, I feel like they have a lot of bottom 6, third pairing defensemen in their bottom 4.
Tyler Myers has gotten a bad rap, and I think it's because of the fact that he was paid way too much money. He's a good player. He's not a bad player. I just don't think he's a top pairing.
No, I was referencing more Susie, Forbort, and Desharnais, but like on an elite team, maybe Myers is the number 5. I could play number 4 on an elite team. I just wish they would have done
Tyler
a bit more.
Myers is a legit top 4, but the rest of the guys, I'm not convinced.
All right, that does it for our tiers. Is there anyone that's not on the list that you guys want to add?
No.
My
My big question mark is their goalies.
Maybe that's why they didn't add to their D. Maybe they're hoping for a healthy Thatcher Demko.
Is he?
Well,
We haven't heard much in the offseason about Demko.
Demko is really what they're relying on, right? But Demko had a 917 goals against average, 245 goals. Sorry, 917 save percentage, 245 goals against average, 12th on the goals saved above expected list. He's their workhorse number 1 if he's healthy. And then last year's surprise playoff performer, Arturs Silovs, Latvian goalie, save percentage 881, goals against average 2.47, only played 4 games last year, so he doesn't count for the goal saves against above expected because we only ranked people that had 20 games or more. Silovs is he interesting as a fantasy deep dive?
Yeah,
put him in your minors and hope.
100%. He's still, I think, 22 years old. He's a huge prospect. But if Demko can go 65 games this year,
Demko is the workhorse.
like, I understand.
Yeah, but do you want him to go 65? Like I'm thinking maybe he's relevant now because they'll be able to give Thatcher Demko less of a workload because of how he looked in the playoffs. I don't know.
This is the biggest question.
Well,
mark.
it's either Silovs or
Yeah.
right. So how much do you rely on Silovs?
Because even Silovs,
Hopefully-
you have no, like, okay, he did well in the playoffs, but
How
playoffs,
often?
there's adrenaline. There's like
Yeah.
the game is completely different in the playoffs. Now in the season where teams can have video on you, can scout you and all that, it gets a little bit more difficult to play in the NHL as a goalie, an everyday goalie. So I agree with Nick. If Demko can play a minimum 60 games, it's they won't have the same points as they had last year. Because to me, Demko was if not the Vezina Trophy winner if you play 82 games, right behind Hellebuck.
For sure. I just, I don't know, with his injury, with his injuries and stuff, for Vancouver's sake, Silvos has to play 25 games.
Can he repeat 5 shutouts? I mean, it's tough.
It's a big question mark in Vancouver. This is what's going to make it that they finish first in their division or they're a playoff team.
Oh, let's see. But for sure, he's fantasy relevant, probably amongst the top 5 goalies to go in fantasy drafts.
Top 10 for sure.
Who?
Top 5.
Thatcher Demko.
Yeah, Demko. I thought you're talking about.
Well, I mean, Hellebuck,
Silvas, yeah.
Hellebuck, Saros, Shesterkin.
And Demko. Those are going to be your workhorses.
I think you could take Demko over Ottinger, maybe.
Ottinger
Tit
had a
for
bad
tat.
year last year,
Yeah,
but
but,
Sorokin.
With Roy, he likes
Shesterkin. He's
We
in
said
that
Shesterkin.
pack. He's in
No,
that.
he's better than Shesterkin's better than.
No, but
than
he's
Demko.
in that tier right below there.
Vasilevsky.
That's it. He had an off here, but I think Thatcher Demko
Well,
could compete
he
there.
had no offseason, Vasilevsky.
That's what I'm saying.
right?
But these are all these.
But he's in that tier, I think.
in the workhorse tiers where they're gonna get 60 and games and over.
That's why I say top 5, borderline top 5.
Yeah.
A guaranteed top 10 goalie.
Wow, he's already 28 years old.
Yeah. He's
Goalies start late, eh?
Wow. All right. So let's move on to their prospects. Who there's some nice names out there. We spoke of Artur Silovs as the backup goalie. We have Atu Ratti, Elias Pettersson, the
What
defenseman,
apparently nobody likes.
Tom Willander, and Jonathan Lekarimäki, who's my personal favorite.
Yeah, he's going to be the interesting prospect.
Where do you
Goal
guys
scorer.
stand here?
Yeah,
Point producer.
Lekarimäki.
is the best prospect, I think, in
Yes.
their system.
He's the best defenseman. They're hoping forward. Sorry, they're hoping that Tom Willander becomes that number 2 guy behind Quinn Hughes as an offensive defenseman.
And where do you guys stand? Are we officially marking an X on Podkolzin? I wonder what the Canucks fans think, but
I don't know if Colson will ever be fantasy relevant.
it's a shame.
Even Höglander. Is he really fantasy relevant, Höglander?
Höglander is one of the best 5-on-5 players in the league. Fantasy relevant, you're right.
I'm talking
Doesn't produce enough.
Talking about fantasy.
Yeah, no.
Points,
I don't think so. I mean, he spent most of his time, I think, with Pettersson last year.
Even Atu-Ratti, I don't know if he'll ever be fantasy relevant. To me, Atu-Ratti is going to be a middle 6 player, so he's going to be one of those borderline guys. But I kind of see him like a DeBrusque. He's going to maybe hit at his peak 60 points. I don't see that 70, 80, 90 point player that a lot of fans might be expecting. I think that's unfair.
No. I think that their big player is...
Like Aramaki there.
yeah.
Like
He's-
Aramaki, I see him 70 plus.
Him
points.
and Wallander are the 2 top prospects that they're hoping can get into this team sooner than later to help them to that push to get into that Stanley Cup talk.
Final thoughts?
Well, Dom's model had him 17th, middle of the pack, pretty much. DeBrusque is going to be a good fit. They lost Elias Lindholm. I think that kind of hurts. They were hoping to re-sign him. Losing Mikheyev, Cole, and Zadorov. It's maybe like Zadorov is a great number 5-6, but we're talking about last pairing D, right?
Yeah, it's...
I don't care that much, but he's a bit of a loss. Ian Cole is a bit of a loss as well. They grabbed DeBrusque. They brought in DeBrusque. That's going to be a big help. We already said we like the fit there. And I think that's what really propels them to a middle of the floor. Daniel Sprong, don't care that much. P.A. Suter, I liked him. I was hoping he was going to become more, but don't care that much. Danton Heinen might be a sneaky one.
Yeah.
It might be
Pittsburgh,
a
right?
good. Yeah, it might be a good player to have.
It was Boston last year.
Middle six again.
Anaheim, Boston. and-
Yeah, sorry, not Pittsburgh. It was Boston, but yeah, middle six guy.
All right. We'll move on to our fourth and final team. We're doing good time, guys.
Yeah, fourth and final team, the Vegas Golden Knights.
Okay, I'll introduce this one since I haven't done any of them yet.
Yeah, it's about time.
Where's your
Vegas-
computer?
Vegas Golden Knights. We had some technical difficulties today, ladies and gentlemen. So apologies for me being on my phone most of the podcast. Vegas Golden Knights. 45 wins, 29 losses. We don't count overtime losses on this podcast. Last year's power play ranking 20th. I would have expected a little bit better from this team. 20.24 percentage conversion percentage on the power play. Who's in? Interesting. Victor Olofsson, Alexander Holtz, Noah Hannafin,
Sorry.
Thomas Hurdle. We should add.
I put those two just because I know they got them at the trade deadline. But
No,
it's
but
gonna be
still, it's
the
a full
first
season.
year,
I
full
like
season.
it.
That's
Yeah.
why I added them.
Ilya Samsonov, right? Who do they lose? Marchessault, who was one of the original misfits.
The last one. No, Carlson
No,
is there.
William Karlsson.
Well, Carlson's still there. They lost Manta, who, okay, whatever. He was, whatever. Stevenson, we already mentioned him earlier that he went to Seattle. Carrier, Amadio, and Logan Thompson. Nobody in our tier one. Is that accurate?
Let me.
The only person that can maybe make it is the first player that we have listed, which is Jack Eichel.
Who, when we spoke of JT Miller, I think Jack Eichel, since he came in the league, I feel like he's like a forgotten man because there was the McDavid draft, right? And Buffalo was like the team that drafted him was pissed that they didn't get McDavid because they had the best odds and so on. And I just feel like he got a bad rap from the start. Just nobody really cared for him, but he paces for a point per game almost every season, sometimes more.
But the key to that point per game is what, Junior? Is that he never plays 82 games.
Yeah, that's...
Well, I mean, he had a big injury. A big injury that we thought that he might actually not come back to the NHL because of it. And lo and behold, he did come back. And he came back and kind of started putting up points. So...
31 goals in 63 games last year.
31 goals in 63 games. The year before that, 27 goals in 67 games. In both cases, over 80-point paces for the year.
But none of them over 91.
None of them over 91. You're right. But again, his shooting percentage isn't actually that high. It's always around the same.
Yeah.
Look at the shots. Shots on goal the last 2 years, over 220.
Oh, yeah. He's a phenomenal player. My thing with him is why I would agree that he'd be in the 80 to 90 if he stays healthy and not in the 91 and plus is the supporting cast around him got much weaker than it was. Last year he had a stronger supporting cast than he had this year.
Last year he played his most with Marchessault and Barbashev, which isn't anything really that's that great.
Well,
Marchessault is a good player, don't get me wrong. But Barbashev is a replaceable player, right? What do they have him this year playing with?
I'm checking right
Probably Hurdle.
now. Barbashev and Olofsson.
No, Hurdle's a center.
Olofsson. Victor Olofsson from Buffalo, who couldn't crack the first power play.
Unless he plays with Stone. Like maybe they change it up, but Stone is a possibility as well.
Like-
Man, this team got weak.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of depth
But guys,
anymore.
it got weak, but how? Like they were never super deep on offense. Like Marchessault, you lost Marchessault, but you gained the Hurdle. Do you like Marchessault over Hurdle?
I love Hurdle.
Or I would see Hurdle as a replacement more for Stevenson than he is for.
He's an upgrade on Stevenson.
A huge upgrade on Stevenson.
I think they're
It's just their wingers are so like
I think their defense is it's a strong.
their centers
Yeah.
are strong, and then their defense is strong.
Yeah, their defense
amongst
is
the deepest in the league.
among the deepest teams. But yeah, that's the only reason I wouldn't put Eichel 91 plus. Even in the 80-90, I struggled, but he proved to be at least a point per game player. So if he can stay healthy and play those 82 games, he'll get there.
I like him at 80 to 90. I think that's why I would have put him as well. I agree. I do think he could push for 91 plus, but until he does,
Just those shots on goal.
Yeah, I know.
If he plays 82 games, those shots on goal are hitting 300
with
easily.
only an 11% shooting percentage, only 22 points on the power play.
Imagine 300. Just do 300 shots times 11%.
We don't do math on this podcast, just like we don't calculate overtime losses. All right.
All right.
All right, so moving on. So we spoke about Jack Eichel. Tier 3, we have 2 players listed in between the 70 and 79 point mark. Let's start with the newly acquired last year at the deadline. Surprise acquisition, actually. Thomas Hertl. Thomas Hertl, who took time to get going. Actually, he barely played because he was injured when they acquired him. I believe he only played a couple 6 games.
Yeah.
4 points in 6 games.
Struggled in the playoffs.
What are we expecting out of him here? Oh,
Sorry.
Nick just dropped his headset.
Listen,
yeah.
He will have a full season with good players. You'll get the power play time. He'll get the ice time. I mean, he wasn't playing with very good players with San Jose, and he was still putting up
He was like a 60-point guy.
60, 63. So that's why I pushed him up into the 70, 79, because he's playing with more solid players. This is hence that everybody stays healthy. Mark Stone stays healthy. So it's, I believe, it's the better situation. And when you're in a better situation, your points should increase.
He's playing for something now, right? They're expected to make the playoffs.
They're hoping to make the playoffs.
They're a good team on paper. I think he plays with a bit more oomph. He's happier to go to the rink, happier at practice, just knowing that like they're preparing themselves to compete, and not just start over. So, but like I would have expected more power play points from him. I'm looking at his career stats on the power play, and I don't see more than like 22-point pace on the power play. And the Vegas Golden Knights surprisingly didn't have a good power play. So does he help that? Does it stay status quo? Does he get more points on the power play? I'm curious to see how this plays out. I have a hard time judging how Thomas Hertl will play out in Vegas, which is why we still haven't signed him in Lama.
I think 70 to 79 points is a fair range. I believe he will play with better players, like Vince said. And especially better players on the power play.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't have a Jack Eichel.
Or a Shea Theodore.
Or a Shea Theodore. Or a
Hannafin.
Hannafin. Pitch Angelo, whatever. I don't like him.
Or a McNabb. Or
So at the end of the day, we're really speaking about a player that's much better situation. And because of that, I see him jumping to that 70 to 79 points. He'll never be a point per game plus player. Like, I don't ever see him. And somebody that's getting paid the amount of money that he's getting paid, that's where I think Junior is hurting a little bit when you're trying to think of whether I should resign him or not. Is I think he's making 8.5 or 8.4.
8.1, I think, close to 8.1.
Yeah, it was
6.7 here on.
But that's with
because it's retained.
That's with retained salary.
8.137.
8.1. So $8 million player. You're hoping that he's getting that 70, closer to the 80-point mark,
per
right?
game, yeah.
That's the only thing that I'll say about Hertl.
Well, look, his last stint with San Jose, his line mates were Kevin Labanc and Jacob Pedersen, or Logan Couture and Jacob Pedersen, or Andreas Janssen and Alex Barabanov. So that should improve, because with what's it called? Last year he was with Zadina and Eklund before being traded, but he went automatically on a line with Chandler Stevenson, which is an upgrade on Zetterlund. In the playoffs, played with Stone a little bit. The magic healing powers of Mark Stone.
About Mark Stone. He's the next guy on that tier. Do we believe that he can stay healthy and hit the 70 to 79 points. He's
Is that a quote unquote healthy or?
Yeah, he's 70. He's 32 years old.
He still was pacing for almost a point per game last year. 53 points in 56 games.
That spleen that took him 7 months or just to rate the
Guys,
playoffs.
It's just he doesn't. I feel like this is something that we're saying about every Vegas Golden Knight, right? It's like they went out and they purchased these players at a discount because these players are always hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So discount, I'm saying that they gave up all their prospects pretty much.
Yeah, because once we get to the prospects, let me tell you,
yeah,
that's
so
what to be excited about in that Vegas team.
So they went out and they got these guys. They won a cup, so we can't say that they did anything.
They did their plan. They wanted
incorrectly.
Exactly.
But you're relying on the regular season to make it to the playoffs. You need these guys to be healthy, because now all of a sudden you're expecting a Holtz to produce, but he never produced
in New Jersey.
In New Jersey, maybe he didn't have the opportunity, Junior said. But he's supposedly a very one-dimensional player, and
I have him.
That hurts.
I have him, and trust me, he had some opportunities with New Jersey, but it never panned out.
So if Stone is injured, and all of a sudden you're relying on Holtz only, or if you had it up before. The
lines?
Yeah, the lines. There.
William
So
Karlsson.
Dorofeyev is a player that for a long time we had a lot of hope for, but never really made it. Olofsson is a goal scorer but doesn't do anything else.
That he might just up on the power play.
So there was rumors of Marner going to Vegas. I think that's been pretty much shut down by now.
Who are they going to give?
But what if they make a move for Patrick Laine? Another loose leaf paper would fit right in.
Laine would actually go straight to the top line.
Yeah, with Jack Eichel and Victor Olofsson, or even if he plays with Hurdle and Stone, they're going to have a legit number one line. That would be some good scoring depth if he stays healthy.
This team will be carried by their D-man.
Yeah.
Their D crew is going to carry this team.
So before we close the book on Stone, what are you guys expecting Stone this year?
If he stays healthy, he'll hit the 70 to 79, but I don't expect him to play more than 60 games.
So tier 4? 60
Yeah.
to 60 points, 65
I
points?
think that'd be a more reasonable one.
Expectation?
I think that's the amount of games he's going to be playing. He won't be playing 82 games.
I think because of the lack of depth on offense, he won't be able to miss too many games if these guys have to make the playoffs. So to me, it's that injury that, let's say, gives him leeway to sit out till the end of the year. I think he has to play through it this time around, because if he doesn't... And look, last year they almost didn't make it.
Yeah.
So...
Even when they did, they bounced right away.
They bounced. I think, look, on pace, 82-game pace, he should be a 70-point guy for sure.
All right. Well, goaltending is the other...
No, power play defenseman.
Oh, power play defenseman. Okay, let's do power play. Shea Theodore is somebody I own, so maybe I shouldn't speak of him, but he is their number one power play defenseman in my books. And Pietrangelo should never speak about the power play again. Not even go close to it.
I think he is the player, the defenseman. 98% of the hockey fans are expecting to break out every year. And sometimes because of him, he doesn't himself, because of injuries. And sometimes, like you said, because they have players like Pietrangelo going ahead of him. So I feel because he could be better than the points he's putting up.
I mean, he was almost a point per game last year.
Yes. He can't do better than he is. It's amazing what he's doing.
42 points in 47 games last year, 41 and 55 the year before, and the year before that, 52 and 78.
Okay, but I never heard 60 points.
But 41 and 55.
Okay, so stay healthy.
Yeah, okay, but we're talking point per game pace. Almost.
Yeah, because you're assuming that's what he's going to get, but it doesn't mean that they're going to get point. Right now, all his stats tell me is, okay, you'll get 40 points in 60 games, or 40 points in 45 games. That's all he tells me. That's why I'm saying it. This is the one player that everybody's expecting to break out and is expecting to... He plays 70 games, he can easily be in tier 4 if he plays 70 games.
To me, he broke out. It's just he can't stay healthy for people to admire him more. But
I mean, 73-point pace. If he would have played 82 games last year, is a great pace.
Nick,
But
his
47
pace is-
games only.
if-
That hurts.
If players get paid on pace, he would have been getting $10 million a year.
And he might actually hit that if he does 82
You
games this
understand?
year.
But
I think it's a contract year for him.
Hannafin joins the team. Does that take away a little bit?
Yeah, he keeps Pietrangelo on the bench.
Yeah, I don't think it takes away from Theodore.
No, not Theodore. It doesn't take away from
Hannafin
Theodore.
has never been a number one power play guy. He's never been a player that produces that high points wise. He's a great player, and I think Vegas fans should be very, very happy with him. But I don't see him being that 70-point defenseman.
Well, in the final games that they've played, both Theodore and Hannafin were dressed. Hannafin was getting power play one time.
Yeah, I think
Now,
they were testing it out.
I don't think they start the year that way, but it does scare me a little bit.
Theodore needs to stay healthy.
Hannafin has no
Yeah.
talent on the power play.
Theodore stays healthy, he hits that tier 4 of 60 to 69 guaranteed.
What do you mean he has no talent? 8 points on the power play last year. No, sorry, 5 points, 8 assists.
Point.
5 goals, 8 assists. Yeah.
My point.
Listen, Hannafin's going to get their 2 PP, but I don't think he...
Second power play time,
yeah.
yes, I see that. Look, you said it. Theodore has to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he's the number one power play guy on this team, and it's no questions asked. But Hannafin will be the power play 2 guy, and if Theodore is not there, Hannafin will get more exposure on the power play, and maybe he'll do better than his career best of 15 points.
Power play. One last thing. Shea Theodore is on a contract year this year.
Oh, he is.
That has to stay healthy.
I love those contract years.
Yeah.
Nick, talk to us about the goalies.
All right. Well, there's the goalies.
The
One of them is
goalies.
a Stanley Cup champion. The other one wishes he was. But I kind of see a little bit of a potential of this becoming a 50-50 split because Aiden Hill had a great playoffs that year that he won the cup, and he got paid for it.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, he hasn't been necessarily that great, considering that Vegas has a very good defense in front of him. He had, and somebody's going to put up the sheet because obviously my computer is not working, so I have no... Yeah, I can't read that. Where's the sheet? Okay, that works. So he played 35. Okay, thank you. 909 save percentage, 2.71 goals against average. That's pretty good numbers. 38th in goal save above expected. So middle of the pack, if not a little bit worse. And the other goalie that they brought in on a very cheap contract is Ilya Samsonov. 890 save percentage, 313 goals against average, 36th in goals save above expected. So 2 very similar goalies, I think. And that's why I'm saying that they might be a 50-50
Similar
split.
goal now. Aiden Hill has the upper hand over Ilya Samsonov. There's no... But, Nick, once again, can he stay healthy? I feel with the Vegas team, we're just repeating everything over and over.
I don't think that Aiden Hill has... Well, he has the
35
upper hand because he won the Stanley Cup with the team.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't think he's a better goalie than Samsonov.
Well, yeah, I'd give him a better goal than Samsonov.
Why? The goal saved above expected is the same. Samsonov is even better.
Yeah,
when did
but
Samsonov
the
play?
save percentage is 0.89. It's not even, he didn't even hit 900.
Have you seen Toronto's defense
Yeah, but
compared to Vegas's defense? That's what I'm saying. Is that put Samsonov behind Vegas's defense, he'll put up similar, if not better, numbers than Aiden Hill.
I don't know. I think you're giving way too much credit for Samsonov.
Aiden Hill's never played more than 35 games in a season, which was last year. And Ilya Samsonov has played 40-plus games in each of the last 3 seasons. So there's definitely a split that's going to happen here. I don't think Aiden Hill could carry a full load. And I think I'm going to lean more to agreeing with Nick. I think Ilya Samsonov's numbers should improve. And again, both players on contract years.
Yeah.
So they want a payday. It's the time to shine. But I would take Aiden Hill over Samsonov in a 0G. Aiden Hill's a good 0G strategy goalie.
But he'll be drafted.
But he'll
For
be
that.
drafted before.
I
that.
think Samsonov Is a 0G strategy goalie.
especially in two goalies,
If
goalie
you're
league.
starting, you have a spot for a bench where you could play them
Yeah,
on a daily lineup. I
solid.
like Samsonov there.
And final thoughts. No prospects, people. Prospects, which is going to be like final
we
thoughts.
might as well go to the final thoughts with this team.
Brendan Brisson is probably going to play this year.
Yes, he's in their starting lineup.
How come Holtz is there? Has he played less than 100 games?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he has. I think last year was the first year he actually played.
Really? Eh?
Let me just check.
Yeah, you
just
might
to
be
make
right.
sure. I'm usually not wrong. 110 games.
He played 82
Yeah,
last
so he
year.
shouldn't be on this list.
Okay, 100. Yeah, actually no. Yeah, he played 82
Yeah,
games.
he's played more than 100.
82 games last year.
82 games last year, 19 the year
games
before
and
that, 9 games
yeah,
before that.
He's still.
He's over that 100,
stop.
so he doesn't qualify.
We're looking for over 200. No, under 200.
I think you were really hoping to put somebody in here because there's not much to talk about.
The names I put, I have no idea who they are. I'm honestly, I just copy pasted because there's not like there wasn't even much information on some of these players. Like that's how, but this is what it is. You're going to win a Stanley Cup. You're giving up your future, and that's what Vegas did, and it worked. But in the process, Lucas Cormier, maybe. But I don't see any of these players being fantasy relevant anytime soon.
How come
I think Brisson was the only guy really.
How come I don't see David Enstrom anywhere in their depth chart?
They
or
probably traded him, and with the website I went to, probably told me they didn't.
Can you search his name?
I thought he was still there.
Are you spelling it correctly?
I was on cap wages. He's probably it was part of the San Jose trade for Hurdle.
Yeah, there you go.
So he's not even there anymore.
He's not there anymore.
No.
All right, so let's remove all the
Okay, so moving on
prospects
to
from
the
this.
final thoughts.
So what are the final thoughts, Nick, on the Vegas Knights?
Well, according to Dom, they had the second worst offseason out of every team, and you know what? I could kind of see why. They lost a lot, but they added in the trade deadline Hurdle, which is going to be a nice player for them. They added Hannafin, who's going to be a nice player for them. So maybe 31st, because Dom was considering it as the off season, but realistically, I think we're talking about a team that stays status quo and competes for that playoff spot. Again, they got to stay healthy. They're going to make the playoffs, but they got to stay healthy to do it.
It's health. With Vegas, it's health. And you know what? If one of the big guy goes down early and goes on LTIR, then it just opens the door for them to go get another big contract that they throw in there. So it's the Vegas way, right? So we'll see. But yeah, playoffs, man, it's going to be fringy. But since you talk about playoffs, how are we ranking all these teams from the Pacific Division?
We'll start the next show with it, or
Yeah, we start the next show with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We started because we forgot the first show to end it with it.
Oh, yeah, but it also gives us a little bit of time to do some research and doesn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
and,
throw it out
it
there.
makes people tune into next week.
Yeah, there you go.
So next week you'll find out where we
But we
rank.
could do a spoiler alert: playoff team or not?
I think they're a playoff team. I think they're
Let me
they're
see.
one of those.
1, 2, 3. No, not for me.
You think they miss the playoffs next year, Vegas?
Let me just check. Wow, this is not even the Pacific Division. Did we talk about all these teams?
Yeah, last week 4 and
Yeah.
this week 4.
Oh yeah, so there you go. How many make it? 3.
3 plus 2 potential wildcards.
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, and the potential one.
So okay, you have Vancouver, Dallas, and Colorado making it, obviously,
and Edmonton.
and Edmonton making it. So that's 4.
And my other team in this is either Utah or LA.
You think okay? So yeah, I have Vegas and
Yeah, we'll rank them all, but yeah, I
Utah, LA around the same.
No, wait.
no.
Hold
this
on a
is
second.
wrong.
Dallas is not the
Yeah,
Pacific Division.
because we-
Colorado's not. It's Edmonton.
Okay, so what are we saying?
It's Anaheim.
We just
all
did
the
these
California teams.
Yes, let me go to
The two California.
Let me go to NHL.
Vancouver,
This is
Anaheim.
why we shouldn't have done it now.
See-
You
Oh,
see?
stop.
You see?
Seattle.
Here we go. Vancouver, Edmonton, Los Angeles, Vegas,
Edmonton,
Calgary,
Calgary.
Seattle, Anaheim, San Jose. So to me, Vegas is maybe a wild card team.
Yeah, I mean they made the playoffs last year as the last team to qualify
Yeah.
from that division.
I really do believe that Utah might take their place in the playoffs.
I think Edmonton finishes first this year.
But we will do that next year.
Yeah, we'll
Next
do it
week.
next week.
Next episode, not
I do
next
think
year.
they're a playoff team, though.
Yeah.
Next episode. So how are we finishing this episode up, boys and girls?
Well, thank yous to.
Are we saying the big announcement? Or
Oh yes, because
Are we,
I kind of did a spoiler when we said we own Elias Pettersson in one of our leagues.
Go ahead. You brought this on our plate, so you should be the one talking about it.
So Victor Munoz of Dauber Prospect Reports put out a tweet saying he was missing. They had 2 openings for their league, their dynasty league, and we shot our shot, and we are officially a new team of the 18-team Dauber Prospect Reports League under Victor Munoz commissionership.
That's right.
So
That's
we're
right.
very excited about that.
And we're joining as the podcast, basically.
Yes, the team is called Partial Breakaway Podcast, and we look forward to possibly having him on the show eventually.
Oh, you're counting
Hopefully.
your...
Hopefully.
No, that's the goal. That's the objective. We're just trying to figure out when and where.
We are hoping. How are we leading off? How are we letting all
Well, you're
our
the producer. You
listeners
tell
go?
us.
All right. Well, listen. Follow us on X. Follow us on Spotify. And I'll tell you, listen again. Follow us on YouTube. Please press the thumbs up button for the likes. Subscribe. It costs you nothing. And it gives us so much pride to see a new subscriber on our YouTube. If you have comments, leave them. Once again, Junior and Nick already are down 1 because they made a few mistakes already in their podcast. So Vince is still perfect over here. So just keep those comments coming.
Okay, how do I mute this guy now? 13 listens by Vince today.
13 listens.
I might have to recount them when we listen to the
Yeah,
episode.
and I think you hit 13 letters.
Thank you to Sportira for our branding apparel here. Sportira.apparel on Instagram or sportira.com if you have any desire for uniforms, sports uniforms, corporate apparel, and so on.
We used Daily Face Off.
Yes, Money Puck, Daubers, Frozen Tools, Fan Tracks, Cap Wages. Anything else am I missing here?
We have a Discord.
We have a Discord. Tell us about it quickly.
Fantasy.
Fast.
Partial Breakaway Podcast Discord. Join, it's free. Come in, we'll talk and ask us questions.
And challenge our takes. Don't be afraid to challenge our takes.
It's new to us, so we're still getting the hang of the whole Discord, TikTok, and everything. But all right, people, have a good night.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good one.